Nice to meet you guys. I feel like I don't necessarily need the microphone for the size room. But I'll share a little bit about the last 10 years of my work and effort in life and pull some of the insights that I'm trying to draw upon for the next 10 years. I had an interesting start, kind of kick-started into this career. Both my parents passed when I was younger. My mother when I was a senior in high school, my father right when I graduated from college. And my father was a very successful entrepreneur. And so I sort of was in this interesting position of having significant resources at a young age that I didn't earn. And I immediately set about trying to validate that position or earn that position that I arbitrarily found myself in. And it was a fun time. I think there's a certain beauty that surrounds death and a certain perspective, and there's a freedom that surrounds death, and I really brought that freedom to the marketplace, and was just making big bets and moving really aggressively. And there was a lot of good stuff that came out of that. First, I got into the film business and was producing films that I felt kind of matched that intersection of entertainment and relevance. And some you've probably seen, some you probably haven't. But became frustrated that each business or each film was its own business. And if you liked one film, you didn't know we made it, so we couldn't have you there for the next film. So launched Good as a magazine to be a consistent platform for this conversation around giving a damn. And Good kind of went from this fun project into a real business where Good now reaches about 10 million people a month. We expanded into consulting because some of our advertisers wanted our help navigating this space, and so our clients are Google and Facebook and Airbnb and Starbucks, and super fun to see how entrepreneurs in those companies can do good things. And then, they wanted our help in kind of how to do the storytelling that they saw in our media, so we launched a creative agency and wanted to empower our members, so we launched Citizen. So we now have these sort of multiple businesses that all exist under the Good heading. But somewhere along that line, it stopped being like this fun free-for-all. Like it really very much became a business, that has lots of employees and all the pressures that come with that and the fun that comes with it. But my identity became subsumed by Good. And I entirely, we almost went out of business in 2008, trying to do some stupid stuff. Almost did it again in 2012. And each time it was so traumatic because it was like my identity was at stake. It's fascinating. And I'm super grateful for the GPC. Going to Montana in 2006, 2007, or whenever that was like a fundamental inflection point in my life. And it didn't solve things for me, but it allowed me to become aware that there was a problem, which I think lend itself to this sort of identity wedding that would occur with my efforts. And so me and my family left for a sabbatical last year, and we took 8 months. We lived 4 months in Costa Rica, 2 months in Indonesia, lived in a month in a van driving around New Zealand, lived in Copenhagen for a while to see what the Scandinavians were up to. I'd heard a lot about their success. And then came home, and I wasn't sure. I'd say it was the best thing about that experience, and I'll get to the insights shortly, was that I saw that I did exist outside of work, and it was an awesome thing to see. Like, I think coming up in a Puritan, Massachusetts place where you go to hell if you don't work, it was cool to be like, I'm here, I'm not going to hell. They were wrong. And that was a very lovely thing. And then I got back, and I didn't know. It was almost like an alcoholic returning to a liquor store, where like I opened up my emails. I didn't have a phone for that period of time, and all of a sudden, like, kind of dove back into work, and I totally tweaked out. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I stepped aside. I appointed our president from our board, and just sort of watched from the sideline. And I took a job teaching at USC social entrepreneurship to the business school kids there, and it wasn't fun. Like, it just wasn't that awesome being on this. Like, it's not that fun to do well without doing good, I guess. If the mission of Good is doing well by doing good, like, it's hard for me to enjoy that which I have if I'm not putting work in. And so I'm in an interesting place right now, and I told Peggy this earlier that it's the first time a big media company wants to buy Good, and it's one of the reasons I'm in New York right now in these negotiations. And it's not private, but it's super confusing because on the way here, in the taxi ride here this morning, I was like, I'm selling this thing. I mean, beating myself on this thing. And then sitting in this environment, it's like, hey, like, you know what? Like, I don't actually need the money. And so much what I crave in the exit is like the W next to the effort and the validation, as opposed to, and I don't know what the decision's going to be. We'll see what happens. But it is interesting how this environment creates a context where success is different than the context that I have out there, where it is about those W's. And even that I have more awareness, it's still the dominant context for me. And so whether or not I sell the company or not, or double down on the company by effectively keeping with it, I do feel like there's some insights that I'm going to bring to the next thing. And having this opportunity to talk to you guys forced me on the plane to kind of distill some of these. First is when we started Like Good, we had this really distinct mission. We said we're going to help we want to see the sensibility of giving a damn become the dominant sensibility. This was 2006, and it felt like media was reflecting this paradigm of you're going to go to Goldman Sachs, you're going to go to the Peace Corps. And that was something we rejected, and we saw this generation that was rising and felt that we could bet on them and bet on us and really reflect that together. We were going to move the world forward. And it was so inspiring, and we were after it. And then I'd say, once Obama got elected in 2008, and some things, I'd say Arab Spring leading to Occupy, leading to SOPA, it was like the sensibility of giving a damn has permeated society. And in a way, we became lost. And that led to some of the mistakes that almost put us out of business in 2012. But I heard the CEO of Invisible Children came to the office and spoke to the employees a few weeks ago. And he had this line of, don't have a mission, be on a mission. And I found that to be the most inspiring line. And so whatever the next chapter is, if it's good, and for some reason I'm leaning in that direction just because we're here talking about doing good, like crystallizing this mission of, and I think I know what it is for our next chapter. It's helping good people do great things. And then if you can have that mission, it's sort of useless if you can't manifest it in particular submissions for the people who are actually doing things. So our media business, can it help good people do great things by helping them understand the world so they can change it? Can our consulting business help entrepreneurs do great things by aligning their KPIs with impact? Whatever, I can see how it can come together, and I feel the movement that can come from that. But I also think about, just again, you guys can decide whether these are insights or words. I think it's important, as I think about the next chapter, and I think about this in philanthropy as well, where I run a foundation, is it's one thing to be good at building boats. It's another thing to be good at choosing rivers. And I think sometimes like the craftsman in you can really focus on the boat building, which is super important. But it's like, I launched a magazine boat. Like, what a terrible boat. What a hard voyage that's been. Like, the amount of water in the media business is just like, it's a shitty river. And so I think about, how that applies to philanthropy. And I think about the investments we've made on that front, the grants and the, for-profit investments. Half of it's the boat builder, but the other half's the river. And so I think that navigation's super important. And then I'd say, like, a thing which I'm glad to be here is how to keep this broader context for the decisions at the office. Because I think at the office, like, there's a very confined perspective, and it feels clear at the time, but getting to pull myself out, it feels really good. And I think having that freedom, partially from the sabbatical, partially from having people like you guys who are in my life and can remind me of this, is really valuable. So yeah, those are my insights. I hope they're of some value. Thank you.